Namaskar friends, I am Shubhra Sinha, your course instructor, and we are going to learn lecture 5 of module 12 of the stress management course. This lecture, in continuation with its previous lectures, is going to focus on another important life skill, that is making decisions which are quick and accurate and solving problems in an effective way. Let us see what I have for you in this bouquet. This is the pre-cap of what we are going to learn today. This lecture is divided into 3 segments, not the lecture, rather I should say the skills of decision making and problem solving can be divided into 3 parts. The first part is of the foundational mindset and skills. The second part is the unified step by step guide to decision making and problem solving, and the third part is the advanced techniques and considerations for the process. Usually in our daily life we all struggle with the problems of making decisions and solving problems efficiently. Now these decisions and problems can range from very minor daily issues to very significant and challenging ones that we face seldom in our lives. However, developing decision making and problem solving skills can significantly reduce the stress level by improving upon the outcomes of our decisions and leading us to more effective and fulfilling personal and professional lives. Coming to the first part of this skill set, which refers to the foundational mindset and skill which must be there before we can move on to the actual process of decision making or problem solving. So, cultivating the right mindset and foundational skills are essential. What this include? This include self awareness. We have already talked about it, that is one must recognize one's own values, priorities, cognitive biases and things like that, and our emotional tendencies too. The second important thing is we must have a growth mindset. If I believe that I am complete in my present terms, if I do not want to grow, if I do not find anything that can be added to my existing behavioral repertoire, I am stagnant at the point where I am. So, instead of stagnation, one must choose the growth mindset, must be open and ready to learn new things and to modify the pre-existing things whenever they are required. One must learn to manage one's emotions with the help of emotion regulation techniques, which we have already learned in earlier modules, and we must not lose curiosity. The second part is the unified guide for decision making as well as problem solving. See, both these processes, although they are distinct, they are integrally correlated to each other. Whenever you go to solve a problem, you have to make a series of decisions. You have to take a series of decisions, small or big. Otherwise, you won't be able to solve the problem successfully. So, decision making is an essential component of the overall problem solving behavior. Therefore, whenever we talk about the required skills, most of the skills we need for these things are in common. The step 1 here is identification and defining the problem or decision, whatever we are engaged in. So, this particular step includes recognizing the issue about which we have to take a decision or which is causing problem to us. Then we need to define it precisely, and we must be able to distinguish symptoms from the root cause. Most happens that we misidentify symptoms as problems. For example, whenever we visit the clinic of a doctor and the doctor asks, what are you suffering from? I said that I am suffering from fever. But fever is not the actual problem, rather it is the symptom of some other problem. So, what doctor does, being a professional, he tries to identify the actual problem with the help of blood test, with the help of many other diagnostic testing. Okay. If the doctor tries to treat fever only without taking care of the actual cause which is making that temperature to rise, he can never be successful in treating the patient. This is true for decision making and problem solving behavior also. We are so puzzled with the symptoms of the problem that we start believing that those symptoms are the real problems, which is actually incorrect, which is actually false, right. Then we have to identify and then frame the problem or the issue effectively. We should gather relevant information about the problem or the issue and then analyze the situation completely. Data should be collected from different sources, from as many sources as possible, but at the same time from reliable sources only. Otherwise, the conclusions drawn will be faulty and biased, leading us to draw incorrect incorrect inferences. We must assess the quality of the information that we have received. Of course, here also comes the question of reliability of the resources and the way we have collected the information, and we should also analyze the context in which that particular information has been given by a particular person. Then comes a step 3, which is the brainstorming session, that is creating all possible solutions that can be tried in order to solve a problem or various kind of options which are available for making decisions. So, at this point one must brainstorm freely without really being concerned about the quality of the options which are being produced or the feasibility of the options which are being produced. The options should be as diverse as possible and our emphasis should be on the quantity at this stage over quality. This is the initial stage. So, as many options that we can generate will be good for us. Then comes step 4, that is we have created a number of options during the initial brainstorming session, and now this is the time to weigh the feasibility and appropriateness of all those options which are generated during the first session, first step. We should assess the pros and cons, we should assess the feasibility of implementing those options, we should assess the resources that we have, and we should also assess the societal approach towards those options. Some of the options can be socially valued, others may not be. Similarly, we should be aware of one's own cognitive biases. Sometimes it is own bias which represent a particular option as being very good, as being lucrative over the other possible alternatives, which is actually not true. So, honest risk assessment, honest cost and benefit ratio assessment is important for what we want to do. Then comes the step 5. Once we have done with all this assessment, we have evaluated each option with respect to its feasibility, its effectiveness, we should choose one of them wholeheartedly. One of them wholeheartedly means then we must not regret upon not choosing the other options. Mostly what we do, we choose an option and at the same time keep regretting about not being able to choose the other possible alternatives. One has to realize that including everything in one option may not be possible every time. So, one has to lose something also. If you want further elaboration of these points, you can go back to one of the modules in which I talked about frustration, adjustment and conflict. There I discussed how to deal with interpersonal as well as intrapersonal conflict, and this decision making dilemma or the dilemma associated with problem solving behavior draws heavily from intrapersonal conflict. So, reading it again can help you a lot in understanding these particular steps, as well as you can come up with a better manual to drive this process. Then once I'm done with the selection of the option and I'm satisfied with it, I must try to implement my decision and solution effectively on ground. For that, I need to develop an action plan. I have to specify the specific steps which will be needed so that I can implement my decision. I need to assign responsibilities to other people if I am not alone capable of doing everything to convert my idea into action, and then I need to add a realistic timeline. I must realize that there will be unforeseen consequences, there will be certain hindrances which can extend the time stipulated or allotted for a particular thing to be done. So, having some extra time is always good. Then we must allocate the resources which are necessary and then communicate our decisions and solution to other stakeholders which are going to take part in that decisions or who are going to be affected by the decision. Finally, one must continuously monitor the progress of the implementation, as well as one should review the outcomes of our decision in terms of their effectiveness in solving the problem. One must be honest while evaluating the effectiveness of the outcomes and should do it without any kind of bias. This was the basic and standard procedure of decision making and problem solving behavior. Then comes the third part, which includes more advanced techniques and considerations. These are called creative problem solving techniques. Sometimes we find people coming up out of the box solutions which have never been thought of before, which have never been tried before, but once tried they really did wonders. Okay. So, these kind of creative problem solving techniques can also be tried. Mostly it includes analogical thinkings, means if I am not capable of coming up at a reasonable solution for the problem, I can refer to the past incidences which were of similar kind, and I can just learn something from what has been done in order to manage those situations. So, learning from the past, from the similar situations is one thing that can be done. Then working backward. We all have seen puzzles in newspapers and magazines where there is a starting point and then there is an end point and there is a puzzle. There are multiple routes in between and one is supposed to start from the beginning and then choosing a correct pathway so that the person can reach to the desired end. What if I start with the end point and try to go back towards the beginning point? This could be an effective solution if I am unable to find out the correct path that can take me to the desired goal. Sometimes this can be done and the steps which are necessary to be taken can be calculated in the reverse order instead. Then assumption busting. If I am not able to solve the problem with the help of the established assumptions and methods of doing it, I should try to challenge them. What if I start thinking in a way which is not compatible with the existing assumptions and start adopting ways which are innovative, which are fresh, which have not been tried before. All these frameworks, the analogical thinking, working backward and assumption busting, must be done uh, based on the moral principles, values and the social norms which are prevailing in our own socio-cultural milieu. Otherwise, these kind of deviations can be very risky sometimes. So, this was all about the process of decision making and problem solving. Here is a quick recap. In this particular lecture, we learn about the 3-section procedure of decision making and problem solving. That is, the first part containing the foundational skills and mindset, the second part the standard procedure, and the third part which comprises of more creative techniques to solve the problem. And we learn the 7 steps of the standard procedure also. Friends, this is the end of this 12-week long course. During these 12 weeks, we worked together, we worked hard, and we tried to explore multiple domains of stress. We started from the concept of stress, we talked about its nature, we talked about various causes which exist in different domains of life and cause us significant stressors. We also talked about the physical, psychological and the social work related symptoms that we find in people whenever they are stressed. Then we started talking about specific domains where stressors are there and we sometimes fail to identify them, or because the symptoms are so pervasive, they are so prevalent in the society, occurring with everybody, that we stops understanding them as problem. We find we start taking them as normal, so may not work, may not try to do anything to improve the situation. We saw how occupation can be a cause of stress. We also talked about scholastic stress. Then we moved on to family relationship as potential stressors, and we talked about many such aspects of life which may contain stresses for us. And finally, we started talking about management of stress. Defense mechanisms were also a part of our discussion, emotion focused strategies, problem focused strategies, and finally life skills. So, this was a long journey, but I hope the journey was useful for you, it was interesting for you, it has somehow improvised your behavioral repertoire by equipping you with some more tools, some more strategies to prevent as well as to manage stress without getting overwhelmed by the feeling of anxiety, nervousness or stress itself. Thank you very much for spending such a long time with me and being actively engaged with the assignments, with the discussion forums, with everything. I really enjoyed your company during these weeks and hope the same from your side as well. Thank you very much for being with me, and of course, without ending this tutorial, these are the references and recommended readings to enhance your knowledge about the subject a little more. Here are some more references. Thank you very much for your patient listening. Thank you.